First on the agenda is Taco Bell.
We are. Sorry, give a quick introduction. My name is Gina Gerber. I'm here on behalf of the applicant this evening. I believe you've all seen this plan before. We're here for a final land development plan review. We previously received preliminary land development review that was at the board's January 31st meeting. We're discussing a property located at 50 Rock Raymond Road. That's UPI number 39227. This is in C2 Commercial and Route 30 Bypass Interchange Overlay District. It's approximately 1.74 acres, and we are proposing to develop a Taco Bell restaurant with drive-through facility in this particular location. This board has seen this plan numerous times in various renditions of both variance, conditional use, and now plan development approval. So we did receive some review letters very recently on our plan that we submitted in February. We think those review letters are relatively clean. There were a couple items that were raised that we'd be more than happy to discuss this evening should we wish to do so. And if there's any questions you may have regarding this, we'll be seeking a recommendation tonight for approval in order to proceed with final approval to the board.
From the attention, we wanted to talk about sidewalk.
So the two issues that you guys had questioned me earlier when we discussed this were the sidewalk, and then also if you had any questions about the waiver request. For the roof.
On the top.
Those are two items really in the order that weren't. Your outside agency approval, the agreement for third party. You guys have any questions? Do you have any questions about the letter or anything contained in the letter?
I mean, I think the letter is pretty self-explanatory. I think the outstanding comments are related to the traffic
For PennDOT and also your sewer, PTMA and DARA, which has been a big issue with DARA. And then the only issue, I guess up for discussion, would be the sidewalk issue at the corner.
Right, and I believe that applicant doesn't have any problem with including the sidewalk.
Okay.
Shown on that plan. Is that accurate? Yeah, so we can incorporate that into the final plan. We have no objections to that. Pretty reasonable.
Do you have any questions about the?
I just looking at this sketch, with that little piece of jumper sidewalk in there, each kind of an open triangle, concrete in the whole thing.
Good question. I would guess it's probably landscape, depending on where that falls on the property.
That's included.
We probably have to take a look at where the impervious calculations are at this point and whether we can afford to actually pave all of that over. So, we have no problem with providing the walkway. As far as you mentioned sewer
Yes.
items, so just so you've been updated, those sewer agreements are in the works. The solicitor and I have gone back and forth as to some proposed revisions for those, and our goal is to get those before the municipal authority at meeting next week for review and approval. So we are in a position to get those approved. There's a few items of revision that we're still going back and forth.
They were asking earlier about why the PennDOT growth rate isn't the same as the township rate. The PennDOT, I'll let you speak, but my understanding is the PennDOT growth rate is lower.
So the PennDOT growth rate, the reason why it's different is obviously the ordinance doesn't, it's not necessarily what I'll call evergreen, in other words, it doesn't change, from time to time with respect to growth rates, whereas the PennDOT growth rate is actually based on the previous line. What they do is they go out and count their roadways, and they collect that data every year, and then what they do is they provide us that data and average it out over 9 years and look at the growth rates during that time. So it's, every year it's a different growth rate. I'm not saying it's drastically different, it goes from 1% to 5%. But it does fluctuate yearly, whereas the ordinance, because I don't know when the last time the ordinance was published, but the growth rate justified in the ordinance, has been that way since the ordinance was published. The other thing that we do is the ordinance requires you to obviously use that certain growth rate. We've also tried to do not growth rate in outdoor traffic lines, but we've also incorporated other development in the area, which adds that growth rate as well. It's not just a flat percentage plus less traffic in the area. There's been multiple studies that have been done with this intersection before. There were farms previously, Taco Bell, and then the development will occur in the future. Obviously, we'll incorporate the latest and greatest growth rates as well as future developments. I know that I was involved in the STEM Academy in the expansion. Granted, that project was Downtown Borough, but again, that same intersection of 322 and Rock Lane in the study, and the information was also provided in the study. This study does not. This study was required. However, the Lloyd Farm study takes into account the Lloyd Farms, Taco Bell, as well as Town, which I believe is a whole night happening at this point. It also takes into account, both of these studies also take into account the proposed alternative plans for the interchange at 30, and that has proposed.
They're requesting a waiver to use the data and the growth rate for PennDOT and the PennDOT studies and not use a fixed rate that your ordinance requires.
And to the extent that makes infinite sense, we would propose using the change. Or maybe double.
I can say in my experience, most municipalities don't necessarily have a growth rate included within their ordinances. There are a few, for instance, West Mason, they have, I don't know how this has been in existence for at least 15 years, they have 5% per year in 5 years. So you automatically have to assume 25% of every application. Based on the way things are going today, when we have people working from home, flex hours and that type of thing, you're not seeing anywhere near that. You're probably seeing less than percent growth in traffic per year, not attributed to developments in that specific study. Which does not go through this.
So that is the single waiver or relief request from the and the applicant has requested for the future. Very good.
Conditional, make a motion to conditional final approval, subject to the review letter issued by Airless on March 17, 2018, and the annual year February 5th, 2018, and this traffic study. Is it word right?
I would change the last piece to recommend the waiver for section 137.
67. Traffic study. You good with that?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Next thing on our agenda is the village of Hillview, sewage facilities planning module, but we've got folks in the audience that can look at
I do have something I'd like to bring up. Do you want me to do it now?
I think that might be plan that we got here with village of Hillview.
It's not about building.
But it may take some time to do this,
Yeah, you can bring it, you can go over that now, and we'll do the component for you later.
Well,
Okay. Cheryl Spalding, 406 Lloyd Avenue, Downingtown. At the last commissioners meeting, and you're aware of the fact that we're working on the Lloyd farm, but at the last commissioners meeting, what we discovered for the very first time was that in this budget for this year, there's a $50,000 line item for the rezoning. Now, like tonight, when you wind up with something where the old zoning simply does not work, it's too old, it's constantly in every one of these meetings, there's something about it that doesn't work. I'd like to solicit your support to take to start that process. The money is there. The only thing lacking at this point in time is will.
So, just to fill in the commission, at the last board meeting, the manager did say that it's in the budget, she's budgeted this year $50,000 allocation towards 14.5 and updating, reworking the zoning board.
And I checked, it is a line item.
Yes. The board of commissioners has to authorize that moving forward. It's just a line item right now they haven't authorized. What she's basically said is, I think they're gonna be putting out requests for proposals, request for proposal, I just don't know where that stands in the process. That's what she did not, they're gonna go out for proposal.
Well, excuse me, let me be sure I understand. Did they pass this budget?
Yes, yes,
So the $50,000 is real?
yes.
Okay, what has to go out for proof?
They have to, my understanding, and I'm not trying to speak for the manager, my understanding is that they're gonna put out a request out in public for to solicit proposals from potentially my firm. and
Oh,
the other
companies
firms-
to do the
companies
work.
to do the work.
Okay, got
That
it.
has to go out and
Okay.
has to be approved by the board. of
I
Commissioners.
understand, okay,
That's the next step, would be to put it out that way,
okay,
because then that company then would take the lead.
I understand.
That's where,
Okay.
I don't know where that stands in the process.
Well, I understand that you can't do it. All I'm asking from you, as I asked yesterday from the Historical Society, and I will ask again tomorrow night for the Historical Committee, is that you simply say, we support this effort.
I'm prepared to do that tonight.
If you would, I'd appreciate it. I don't see a problem. I mean, it's in the budget and it's gonna be done.
You can support it by making it to have plan implementation in the minutes, which the board will get when they issue. Draft minutes are issued by Pam. Pam will be issued and also the copy of the Secretary of Washington Stockton Board of Commissioners, so they see it in the minutes. About the discussion table.
Discussion?
She's asking for you to lend your support to getting the landlord process started
Soon, quickly. I mean,
soon to get the zoning ordinance process started to work on the township. Township moves forward with the process to revive it. Has the RFP, I don't know where it's at.
I don't believe, I am the zoning officer, so I don't believe the RFP has been developed yet. It has been a topic of conversation for sure. And obviously the PC would be involved in some input, just like all the other commissioners would be for that, once they get the RFP in.
yeah, I'm simply asking that you support the view.
Oh, I agree 110%. I mean, we've had a conversation over the last 2 years based on the things that have come in front of the zoning hearing board, recognizing that it definitely is time to update our zoning. So, I mean, I certainly would support that as well, absolutely.
So the township would prepare a package that goes out, whether it's 10 bid or however the township does it, to put it out to public, where people then can respond or qualified for funds based on the request proposals with the RFP, with a list of qualifications of which you have to, as a firm or a person doing the work, has to have you respond to that. And it goes through the process to determine the best. There's a process where those proposals that are evaluated probably by township staff, and then probably finalists are chosen and then interviewed. And then those finalists then can be interviewed by the board or just by staff and then brought to the board for the appointment or awarding of the contract.
And that's,
Because it's a public process, that's what I'm expecting.
and that's required because of the amount of money they're spending, they have to put that out.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Okay. So, the next thing on the agenda is the sewage facilities planning module for the villages of Hillview. This project was previously approved, with it's an additional, the count of the homes has been reduced, and because of that, they have to go through a new planning process, the new developer, they have to get approval from the DEP for this, for the connection of their project to the county township sewer, system and treatment by the PA American Water Company, who's going to be treating it at their system.
This is the result of the change that was made in the reduction of home.
Yes. So as part of this new application, they have to get approval from DEP. As part of the planning module, there's multiple components involved. 4A is the township agency. 4B is the county agency, and the county agency has already signed off on it. And sent their component 4B back. They signed and issued their approval on February 25th. 4C is the county health department approval, and their approval came back on March 1st. So because of their approvals, the third one in the components to be signed and completed by a planning agency for approval is the township. It's typically done last after the county gets the first black at it. Then we sign it, and then this component then goes back to the applicant for inclusion in the full module, which then still has to come back to the township for final review by your CPNA. And then eventually it comes before the Board of Commissioners for a resolution to actually sign it. So this isn't the last step, this is just one of the planning steps. The Township Planning Commission is the last planning step of outside agency, if they consider outside agency approval before the actual module itself goes to CTMA for their technical review. That's fully in process. The CTMA has this for their review. My office does not review it before technical information because it's handled by the municipal authority and part of their system. So that's why I don't have to do a technical review of this application. I just have to do a planning review. So the component 4A has 16 questions on it that we're just going to go through one by one to discuss and answer, and you can check off the answers as we go through it on there, and then I have a copy here that is typed that we can, or you can get your name in the last, item number 17 is where everything will then complete it and sign it.
It's okay, we just have a type up and come over and all.
You can sign, I have it typed up right here. I've already typed it, yes. But I have it up so I can change it if you want to change it. I've already said I've done the research. So I have it here for you. So question number 1 says, is there a municipal comprehensive plan that was adopted under the municipal planning code? And that answer is yes, you have a municipal comprehensive. Question number 1 is yes. Item number 2 is the question is this proposal consistent with the comprehensive plan for land use? The comp plan contemplates this parcel to be medium density residential. Your zoning ordinance says it's R2, which is medium residential. That's the residential comply. That's a yes. Number 3, is this proposal consistent with use, development, protection of water resources? That answer would be yes, is it consistent with the content in your zoning ordinance? Number 4, is this proposal consistent with municipal land use planning relative to prime agricultural land preservation? This parcel is not even considered prime land preservation, so that's a yes. Number 5, Does this project propose encroachments, obstructions, or dams that will affect wetlands? And the answer to that is yes. If yes, describe impacts. They are proposing a stream crossing to the road, the loop road inside, which is crossing the stream. That is a yes. Stream crossing is yes. Number 6, will any known historical or archaeological resources be impacted by this project? In the planning module, they submitted the PHMC information that the answer is no. In the planning module. Number 7, will any known endangered or threatened species of plant or animal be impacted by this project? The answer is no, but I'm going to tell you that they have Kindy come back that says yes for bog turtles. They went through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and got the U.S. Fish and Wildlife clearance for the bog turtles in the property. They did that already. That has been cleared by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. That information is in the module as well. That goes to the state. So the answer to you is no, by which you look at yes. Kindy did come back to say that's cleared and we have a letter of clearance from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Number 8, is there a municipal zoning ordinance? Yes. Is the proposal consistent? Yes. Your zoning ordinance requires a conditional use for this use that you have an active, valid conditional use in the property. Number 10, does the proposal require a change or variance to an existing comprehensive plan or zoning ordinance? There's no change to the variance. There's no change to the ordinance. It is all done through the conditional use, which is as required by the ordinance required conditional use. Number 11, have all applicable zoning approvals been obtained? The answer is yes. It's got their conditional use approval. Number 12, is there a municipal subdivision and land development ordinance? Yes. Number 13, is this proposal consistent with the ordinance? Currently, that answer is yes. Number 14, is this plan consistent with the municipal official sewage facilities plan? Yes, this area in your plan is contemplated for public sewer, not on lot sewer, so it's consistent with the plan. Number 15, are there any wastewater disposal needs in the area adjacent to this proposal that should be considered by the municipality? No, because that whole area is in the public sewer area. Number 16, has a waiver of the sewer facility plan requirement been requested for the residual tract of the subdivision? That answer is no, because this is the whole tract, there's nothing left, not subdividing and having land left to complete and develop and quickly develop in the future. That question is asked if you want to come in with a phased project. You have 100 acres, you're going to develop 25. How do you apply for a waiver for the other 75 acres? That's what that costs for. So number 16, the answer is no. And then number 17 is where Kenny filled out and signed. So here is a copy that I have already printed out with the stuff on it, so it can be completed here at the bottom.
Listen, I didn't understand you if you were, talking about project. You're talking about the
Okay, so when you do any project in the state of Pennsylvania for land development, for planning, you run what is called a PINDI. It's a Pennsylvania Natural Diversity Index search. Online, done through a state database. And once you do that PINDI, it's registered with the state. You can't just fill it out and check. You have to actually submit it. That PINDI came back with a potential impact. The impact is a potential because of the wetlands on the property and the stream. There's a potential for what they call bog turtle habitat. You have to then go to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and there's, I want to say, 15 plus or minus people in the state that are qualified to determine if there's bog turtle habitat on property. That's it. The whole state will accept. You know, 15 people in this list that qualify. We're doing a really good job. They qualify to be a bog turtle habitat approved sign. So they actually have to go out and like root through the mud and look for turtle. It's a whole. So they went through the process of U.S. Fish and Wildlife to document and have this project under U.S. Fish and Wildlife to approve and release them from that into the potential barstool habitat, to prove that there is no barstool habitat within 300 feet of any given property. So knowing the property line, you can go 300 feet downstream, 300 feet upstream. If you take 200 feet of yours, you can't have an impact by the, I think it's the federal government for barstool, it's federally protected species, that you can't impact within 300 feet of their known habitat. Yeah, it's not only a file, it's also in the full module. If you look at the full module, the letter of release is actually in the module. Because they have to go to the DEP, because the PINDY, which the DEP gets, says it's a hit for barcode. They have to provide the clearance. The clearance came from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And I don't have it, I didn't print the whole module in 72 pages. You have it printed out there? To show you the letter looks like. The PINDY is here.
I read about the bog there, okay.
Up there it is. That's the barcode first one right there. It's behind it, it's in front of the PINDY, not after the PINDY. They say PINDY because it's PNDL.
I actually registered it.
Yeah. So that's the letter from U.S. Fish and Wildlife releasing them from the potential barcode impact. Hit, they call it a hit from the PINDY. They were released from that by that letter by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So, all you need to do then, as a commission, then would be to make a motion to authorize Ken to sign for that. As we discussed today.
Motion to, get sign that.
Second. Okay. They're about that big.
Every turtle's a bog turtle.
So big guys. This is special species and they're tiny. They're really tiny. If you ever been up around Pottstown, directly with the 422 bridge around Pottstown, you ever notice it stops for a couple months at a time? That's the time the barnacles could be migrating. And since there's migration area around that bridge, they have to stop work for those periods of time of the year because of that turtle. You would have never found one, but because of potential migration area up there, they have to mix. Heavily protected species, like a bald eagle. Heavily protected species, we have a couple discussion items tonight. Ray would like to discuss with you guys moving for future.
I'm good. If you don't mind, I'll start, and then if you have something. So, as some of you guys might know, we've had a lot of staff changes over the last couple of years, and planning was people involved in planning was no different. Obviously, my position, the planning secretary, and some new members. One of the things we've been recognizing over the last few months, at least anyway, if not the last year, is that maybe there was before, but it doesn't seem like now we have like a new member packet or process to introduce a new member that comes on the planning commission, or no like annual, hey, refresher, hey, here's the MPC, here's what the MPC says about the planning commission, just an overview, any changes to the MPC, and what's the planning commission needs. How do you think things are going? Do you want to see some changes? What can staff do to help the planning commission be successful at their job? So we recognize that right away. So to that point, Pam, can you pass out? We asked the solicitor if she would come, and she's done it for all our commissions. She's done it for our zoning hearing board. She's done it for our historical commission. Some training on the planning commission. Again, just to review what the MPC says, what the commissioners expect from the planning commission, what are some do's and what are some don'ts. She did offer, we tried a couple times tentatively to plan something for a 6:30 pre-workshop meeting, and it just didn't seem to work out. And I don't want to take away from your time. So the solicitor has the dates on that. available for a 6:30 start. It'll be about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on questions. So we have dates from March 28th through April. And then she did throw in a couple potential weekend dates, March 30th and April 6th, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. So what I recommended was if you guys could get back to Pam by next Monday, if you could look at, see what the majority of you, maybe not everybody could be there, but if the majority could be there, you could have that.
I would encourage everybody to be there, so.
Mhm.
If we could be here and discuss it tonight, maybe we can come up with a.
That would even be better. We can help you out.
Yeah, so March 28th is next Thursday.
That might be a little quick.
Real quick. April 1st is a Monday. So the first Monday of April. April 4th is a Thursday.
Just there first.
April 10th is a Wednesday. April 16th is actually your next scheduled PC meeting. But if you have agenda items, you will have Chester County, the CCIE horticulture building open before you get there.
I suggest you stretch out right out if you could do it.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yep.
Too much.
Break through 416.
429 and 430 are Monday and Tuesday at the end of the month. And then 330 is this coming Saturday, and 4/6 is a Saturday as well. So those are the dates that she threw out that she is available to come.
I think you hopefully don't fit 330 and 4/6, huh?
Well, actually, believe it or not, she would rather do it on the weekend, but she didn't want to impose upon you.
She gotta do it on Saturday morning, do it on a weeknight, with a firm meeting schedule. She had to fit these dates or fits it around her meeting schedule for the municipality. That's why she threw out those nights. You guys wanna look at 4/6 times, you wanna try to do it this Saturday real quick, Thursday, next Saturday. I would just ask John, John and see what Saturday was
Can I ask a question? Why would you train before you get new board members? Because you have 3 people, you have 5 people who have now put in yes, 5 people have applications in for the 2, I believe it's 2 positions on this board that are vacant.
No, it's only one.
There's one.
It's one position?
Yes, official.
Okay,
Which
there
sits
are,
over there in the meeting. He
okay,
doesn't
there,
actually vote, they just sit here.
well, there's 5 applications in. And the, interviews don't finish until the 2nd week of April.
I would still make my recommendation, have the training, and then the incoming person, we can make sure that they get the same training.
Okay.
We'd like to get it done sooner than later so that way you guys, I mean, it may be enough that you guys may generate questions and thoughts, because you went into the next piece.
Yeah.
which
So
is-
let's come back to that before we're finished, and then you guys can decide, okay? It looks like some people are looking at the schedule.
Don't bother
So-
me.
So the other thing that we had found was when I was started looking, and again, I'm new to the planning commission as well, relatively new. I did find that the planning commission has bylaws. I don't know if everybody had gotten those bylaws, but Pam will pass them out. What I can tell you is the last time these bylaws were updated was 1992. So not that they're bad, because really I looked through them and they are pretty much cut and paste right from the MPC. It kind of gives an overview of, the authority of the planning commission, what the membership is, the minimums and maximums. It just gives an overview of officers, what the job of the PC is, meetings, the whole 9 yards. So I wanted to pass that out for you to look at. The second thing, another thing that I did print out, if Pam can pass out the planning, it's Article 2, it says planning agencies, and this is right from the MPC. And again, this is a couple-page document that gives you right out of the MPC pretty much the same things that our bylaws cover. So you can see that our bylaws kind of do. In the MPC, it kind of talks about conducting meetings and stuff like that. That may be something that you want to include in any changes in your bylaws. You know, if we want to change the bylaws, or you know, if there's some improvements, the bylaws would have to be changed just like any other document. You have to, you know, propose them, bring them up, vote on them. And the last thing along the same lines, one of the best ones I have really seen was the planning commission, how it was organized, and their policies and procedures for Center County Regional Planning Commission. Center County, for those of you who don't know, that's up in Penn State, and they have some huge COG programs, Council of Government programs, and their planning commission is regional, so it encompasses multiple municipalities. And if you look, when you get time, you look through this document, it follows along pretty much like the MPC does, but I really thought it was laid out nice because it gives recommendations on how to handle running a meeting, maintaining order, keeping business moving. It just gives a lot of resource for somebody. This, to me, with some changes, this would be a good packet to hand to a new member or even review annually as part of your reorg meeting. Well, it's funny because I think before you had come on board, I believe I had sent that out to the planning group. I've actually sent Pam and my other secretary in the codes office to some of those trainings already on Saldo. So I will, as they pop up on my screen, I will actually send them over to you guys as well. Yeah, sure. Like I said, it was big for me as I started looking through, and I did have, you know, Mr. Caporal came to me the other day and wanted to talk about some things. Obviously, he had some concerns. I wouldn't even say concerns, but he had some comments that he felt or procedural that maybe we were missing, and I thought he had some very good points, and it made me recognize that there was a couple things maybe we were not doing what we should be procedurally, or that we could improve upon, I guess I'd say. One of the things we did immediately was we recognized that the minutes that Pam does, when they're draft, when they're ready after your meeting, and we get ready to send them forward, it doesn't have a watermark draft in it. So I think that's important. From now on, that'll have it, because immediately what we'll do is when those minutes get done, Pam will send them to you guys, the Board of Commissioners, myself, the solicitor, the manager, and Brian. That way the whole, you know, team is on board with what's going on. That way also, there's going to be a time lapse occasionally from when you have your meeting and a project gets in front of the commissioners. There's really no way to prevent that from happening because of scheduling. So what we thought was important was that the commissioners very clearly understood that those minutes were draft and weren't finalized, in case they had any questions or concerns about what was in it. So we did that immediately, and starting this week, and when you see the minutes, it'll have a watermark draft. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mistakes in interpretations, because the minutes are written based upon Pam's interpretation of what she heard. So that's why the minutes are not official until you guys vote and approve them at the next meeting. Some months you may go 2 or 3 months without having the meeting preparing for the agenda.
That's why I read this thing thoroughly, and I guess we're going to take a look at meeting, and Coach John, I believe, we need to sign something, we're not using that. I need to take the deal.
So are you guys all looking to do it for April 6th?
If we can agree on that date, and put it out as on, if he does not, or not able to make it, and everybody is able to get another date. I'm agreeing with you.
But I think if he can't do the date, then we'll try to reach out. I'll have Pam reach out to him tomorrow, literally call him and reach out and try to see if that date works. And if it doesn't, ask him to immediately, we'll start an email chain and immediately try to pick out another date so that we can stay on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, the alternative would be, Griffin?
April fifth. But I plan on coming into town Friday, Saturday.
Then what time?
We can also do 7 days later, the 13th, right?
Well, that's
Easter weekend.
We have been given a date from, those are the only two Saturdays that the solicitor gave in, for the list of things. She gave you the date when the week would be, which would be 6:30 at night here, 6:30.
At the most 2 hours, and that's depending on, questions and conversation about training.
For the 10th.
Let's try.
We'll get that up first thing tomorrow to Mr. Caparella. Yeah, I don't know.
Jim, you said you're available Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday the 30th then? Tuesday? The 29th would be a Monday. Tuesday's better for you then? Or Monday? John, what about you? The last Tuesday of the month, Monday the 29th. 29th? 29th? 29th would be option B.
I'm sorry, that's the 24th.
So you would be available the 30th as well. So option A would be the 10th, option B would be the 29th, and option C would be the 30th.
Once it's slow, move on forward, we have a.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate you coming and doing that, man.
Yeah, no problem. Again, like I said, my job as staff is to make sure that you guys have the resources you need to be successful and, look out for the community and be the middleman for the commissioner. So we certainly, if we're missing steps or need to tweak steps, we definitely want to make sure we do that.
There's a 3-year stretch in my head.
Oh, yeah. Do you have what she gave you the view on the trail?
Thank you.
So I can give you an overview while Brian's looking for that.
Right here.
Oh, there you go.
Right here. So the Beaver Creek Trail Study Advisory Committee has been formed, or is being formed. And their first meeting is going to be on April 9th, from 7 to 8:30 here in Town Township. So it's an advisory committee about the Beaver Creek Trail. And they're requesting one member of the Town Township Planning Commission to join the advisory committee, including one managed by the Brady One Conservancy. They're the ones in charge. You're in charge of be a member of the Brady One Creek Trail Study Advisory Committee. I don't think we need to study. I think you are kind of, the study's being done by probably a third party outside of the conservancy, and then just kind of the committee.
And I think have you guys heard of it before? I think you probably have, and it might have been a couple of years ago. So there's been a resurgency of that trail, and they're getting to the point where they're planning on basically the next section of the trail, which would come through Callan Township. Not just Callan Township, but Callan Township. She didn't even give us any information. I know they have some conceptual plans of where they want the trail to go. But if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me, I think the trail would come through, from Lloyd Avenue area and come through the stream of Beaver Creek and come along, Beaver Creek, come through like where Wedgewood in that area, come around and come across. And if I'm not mistaken, then come through like the school property and keep on going along Beaver Creek. I'm not positive. I do know they have some conceptual plans. So, the committee would be made up of multiple people, but, you know, the township wanted somebody from the planning commission to have some input on that, obviously.
So they're asking for somebody to consider join from township planning commission to consider joining the advisory committee, and the first meeting is going to be held on April 9th, which is a Tuesday night, and the meeting is scheduled from 7 to 8:30 in this room.
And if you decide somebody now and somebody new comes on and you wanna replace them or whatever, I mean, that obviously would be fun.
Equipment's in my rotary place, when that new comes on, it's a That's the way we do things in rotary.
Or you could make a motion that the new person's automatically on there. That would be their gift for when they.
I got a class that night.
Yes, so you
It sounds
can't.
like you gotta pay for that.
So is
Did
anybody,
they tell you what the commitment was? You need monthly?
Not at this time, I think it's, you know, it's completely open, so she didn't really mention anything about, you know, what the commitment is. The other thing we can do, if you don't make a decision today, we can get more information, send it to you by email, and just ask you guys all, make sure you respond by email. Hey, here's the commitment, or the expected commitment, what days, how many hours, and then you can respond that way.
I'm free after May, so I don't know if you, then you have to multiple.
I would assume just once a month,
I
but I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if you don't even meet once a month, less than that, because my guess is an advisory committee, you're advising who's ever doing the actual work, the study work. I don't think,
And not at this
for
stage
example,
anyway.
the capital improvements committee, we 3 times for the 2-year project, so it's not, yes, we can find out.
You could, they just want a seat, so it doesn't matter, so even if you send somebody different every time, it really doesn't have to be the same person, as long as you're bringing the information back, so whoever's going is versed in what's occurred so far.
It's the money, so you have to do this for me.
Yes, yep, we'll not meet again prior to the so, or you guys can just say, the first meeting, somebody here will attend on behalf of the planning commission, get more information, and then get the next meeting. Because there is literally there, already to see the table for the planning commission.
The last thing I just wanted to say, again, with any of these projects, if you guys need, something comes up between meetings, if you need information, if you want to know about a project that's already come in front of you for additional information, I mean, you have my email, don't hesitate to reach out, you know, I can get plans for you, I can, you know, if it's during the day, I can reach out a site, you know, if that helps you visualize the project. Yes, so the kind of the way it works is my office kind of helps oversee planning and zoning and building code. So if you need something from a staff perspective, or if you have a concern, or if you have an issue, it goes through Ken first. You know, you're a commission, so if you guys have concerns about process or something, you know, I think my opinion is that you should go through your group first. If you can't resolve that, then certainly, or if you have any needs, come to me. And if I can't get them for you, then I'll make sure whoever needs to get that information for you. And then the way it should work is if you, obviously, if you have an issue with me, then you would go to the Board of Commissioners, because that's who it's going to. So.
Good job on the response being this letter and concerned about the solar business.
Oh, I appreciate, you know, I had a lot of communication with her, and I could understand her concern, obviously, but it was a little tough, you know, to understand, and I probably would feel the same way if it was my backyard and I didn't necessarily anticipate that. But I think at the end of the day, she finally understood that you know, the township's hands really were tied, and there was really nothing for us to do when it comes to that.
Speak with me about farming.
Well, and hopefully, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Again, that project was completely, at this time, completely separate from the solar farm. And at this time, believe it or not, it still is. We have not heard a word about the solar farm. You know, Timbering, actually, there was 3 or 4 timbering projects all across town, and that's typical. When a company comes in and starts timbering, usually before they even mobilize to do it, they'll go around and solicit from any person that has property that has timber on it. That way they get enough before they mobilize to come, and they'll stay here for 2 or 3 months. They'll timber off the timber that's worth selling, and then they'll move on. So yeah, that timbering project had nothing to do with the solar farm. Yep. No, sir. You should have called up with them. They'd have probably took it. Like I said, you see that when they come in, they're not going to mobilize for an acre of trees, because out of the acre of trees you can only cut like 40% anyway, by code. So. Yeah, the county will be reaching out. They haven't reached out yet, have they? Yeah, the county will reach out to you sooner or later. Oh, do you?
Yeah, they
Okay.
usually discuss the meeting.
Yep.
It's always worked out when we've done that, not by choice, we put the salary in everybody.
Yeah, just talking about it. Town Friday is cleanup, Saturday, April 27th.
We do have a meeting on April 15th. The account private day is April 25th.
Make a note that we're gonna have to do it on that day, and I go there. That would be very nice and more, and more. My partner, I'm John, I'm okay. Sir, you're up.
Thank you, I appreciate the moment. I'm Jim Spalding, and I had 3 just comments, really. I wanted to congratulate the zoning officer for taking a position and putting all this together. That's excellent, and I think that's a good move. A suggestion, if I may, on the possible applicants that you'll be interviewing the next couple of weeks. Perhaps you could invite them to the training, and that way, if one of them is selected, they could be more useful to you, your board. And the third thing is, I'm excited to hear that we're working on the trail. I think this is a big deal, and I'm very encouraged by hearing that. So thank you. This has been a good meeting.
Yep, just here for the show. Thank you.
We're the halfway show, you've done your now. Oh, really?
Oh, that was the board meeting.
No, I mean, any other business to discuss? Anything we should adjourn?